Hello, and thank you for joining me again at the Trail of the Green Man. Today we're going to take a look at the first folio. Again, we've not really spent a lot of time on this, although what we're going to show here uh, on the Play As You Like It in the first folio, page 202, is basically a repeat of what we've seen in Ben Jonstons' To the Reader poem in the front matter from the first folio, where this W, or the severed VV that comes together to make the letter, is something we're going to basically see here repeated again for us. Yeah, so what we're just going to begin with here, the reason why we came to 202, there's obviously a lot that goes on in the background that doesn't come through in the videos basically. And if you go back to the reader, there's basic aspects in there that I never actually went into detail, and I probably will have to go back and bring it through again. But the main point that wasn't really discussed was the massive acrostic of the TWO for the letter 2, and there is another TWO2 in basically in the centre of that poem. So what I did was basically look at the page numbers that had two letter 2s in it, and on this one, page 202, there is an example of a VV as a letter W, and if we just go through, there's an example just there. VV as will, which is quite telling. So if we just try to repeat what we've done on the To the Reader and see if we can get like the seven-sided heptagon to fit again, like repeatable, something that's repeatable, and see how it goes. So what I've done down here is highlight the VVs on the page. One here, 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 and basically that's it. They seem to be clustered for some reason just specifically around this area, which, it's just a small cluster. Surely, surely we couldn't get anything to fit in that space. So I'm just going to put a polygon down. Obviously, I've played around with this and stuff like that, and this is what we get. We cross the VV, we've got the VV here, the VV here, and the VV there. And basically it leaves one spare that isn't used, just like the To the Reader. And what we'll do is, I'll just put a little line through there. As you can see, it's coming from one centre point through the VV, and it takes in the next angle basically. There's some sort of prescribed place for that VV to be. It's not just like randomly placed here, and it tells us here that it's laid apart. Whether that means apart, as in it's this VV is apart from the others. It's been laid here as a part of it. It's just, again, how these words and that explain what we're basically seeing on the page. So if we just carry on again here, let me see here. I've kind of got a little things laid out. Now, what we notice is we've got woman, woman, man. So at each of the kind of like points, we've got this kind of relationship of a man and a woman. Possibly with this VV things. It, it it's hard that sometimes you try to find meaning in why is it saying women and men, and perhaps it's just a simple thing as like the man, it's got something added to it, it becomes a woman, hence like the V and the V added together gives you the W, or perhaps it's getting to something a little bit more deeper when we start talking about VV, man and a woman. Perhaps these are symbols to represent a man and a woman. You got, again, it's interpretation, so all we can kind of do is just forge ahead and see what we're getting to. Now, if we leave the next bit, what it says here is their countenance. And basically, countenance is like the visage, the face of how does something look. And I think this is what it's hinting at. Their countenance is possibly because how does the W look? It is hinting at it here. It's their countenance VV. It's quite an interesting kind of like concept. It's literally telling you here we need to look at the facade of something, the face of something. How does it actually physically look? And at the other side, we've got here the letter or the letter, the countenance VV, the letter. It's basically hinting at you to take a look for this letter. So what I'll do now, I'll just put the centre line in, which is basically from here to the halfway point and repeated from another corner, gives us a centre point, and our centre point is HEP, which is quite strange because we're actually placing down a heptagon, and in the centre we get HEP. It would be a little bit high hope for it actually to have the word heptagon there. Well, again, hep, it's something. Is it coincidence? I mean, here we are repeating the same methods from the to the reader. We're using the VV. We can place down this basic template, and it's literally telling us we've got a hep or a heptagon in the centre. Again, we'll just keep moving on and see what we get. Now it's telling us, mark how the tyrant writes. Mark how the tyrant writes. You know, like we can take this word tyrant, it could be removed. It's basically telling you mark the VVs, mark how these are written, mark how they look. Hear the letter or just the letter, mark these letters. And that's what we've done. And with these letters marked, we get to see this heptagon. So if this mark how the tyrant writes, this is something would be an instruction in how you actually make it, not an instruction that you would read after you place it. So what it kind of gives you the idea is that there's instructions in these pages that should be taken into account before we actually place it down. So sometimes what you're reading in these plays could be a simple instruction. I hope that kind of made sense there. like mark how the tyrant writes. It's a bit strange to get that information after you've already marked everything down, you've placed the heptagon. Or should we be taking it that perhaps we should be reading some of these instructions to help us place these down? So what we're going to do, we're just going to have a little kind of look about because there's some other very interesting things on this page here. And if we take a look, what we've got is PHI, basically phi, which the Greek letter is at the 21st, 22nd letter of the alphabet, basically giving us the f sound, or later it would be like the F. So, and it's basically saying here, this letter. So it's actually saying that we have got like what could be described as a letter. If I just start placing some things down, let's get a little look here. This is running at 53 degrees from this line. We have actually got a 3, 4, 5 triangle that basically helps us place this down. It's not just like a PHI. This literally is running at 53 degrees. And if you've got phi and it's asking us to write this letter or write it, like to actually put it down, and what we get is kind of like this shape. And we're going to discuss this phi letter a couple of times because it seems to have quite a little bit of meaning, and I know it is just a Greek letter, but it kind of gives the impression that I suppose I may as well just come out and say it here, but it's like as if we have got a depth or something, or it's asking us to write it. Why is it asking us to write it? What are we looking for? And to me, it seems to give us an idea that we have got like a circle or some kind of possible globe, and we've got a bar running down it. Is it perhaps giving us some kind of depth or something to look into that way? And we have PHI for fee. It's quite an interesting like thing, but what does it mean? But what I would like to do is keep this fee, because a better way to understand this here is if I was to discuss it in another video with another page, because it's getting into a depth, and I would like to talk about that in more detail. But something I would like to point out is if we take a little closer look here, what we see is this art thou God. And if you check, and the folios I've checked about 5 or 6, what you've got is like a U, but it's actually like cancelled out and another letter stamped on top of it. And this is repeated in other folios. It's not just like a extra ink or something like that. It's basically like a null character. You do see this like U shape, and then it has something like running through it. It's got like an extra letter stamped on top of it. It's as if this letter's cancelled. And if we cancel that letter, we do get that magical hog again, the HOG. And it runs through the VV to the hog, through the VV, and it comes up with a rude invention. Maybe it's got to do with hog, but I don't really want to touch on this fee, a rude invention. Uh, and up here we've got something that's talking about an extremity of love, and I would love to get into it, but I would keep it for another video because it really starts to get into what some of this is about: the VV, the man, the female, uh, an extremity of love. It, it's talking about something here that I would like to leave for another time. But if we look down here, we do have an acrostic of basically like tit tat, and tit for tat is something that it's petty. It's tit for tat. It's like the same for same, if that makes sense. And we've got basically ere thou wast, or here he was, basically, and we've got bore, BORE, and if we just follow that line up, it does go through the VV. It takes in the new word of hog, and it catches the VV here, which is spare, and we go back up to the rude invention. So again, we've got the same kind of thing here, the same kind of alignments, and it's pointing towards this word hog. And again, I just need to say there is more videos to come where this keyword hog is actually gifted to us, is something that we really need to look out for. And I will get round to making that video. I think I stopped just short of actually talking about it as specifically. I think it's the video with the 3 chambers, and I would love to add to that, obviously, but sometimes there's just so much so much work needing done. But as I said, there is something else I would like to, because we did arrive at this page because of the two on the to the reader. It gave us these specific acrostic and one TWO running backwards, so I did go to each of the page that contained 2 twos, and just by chance Here we can find we're coming from the corner. We run through TWO of 2. If we keep coming down, we go through the other corner. If we keep coming down, we hit TWO running backwards. If we keep coming down, we hit TWO. And if we keep coming down, what we have is, I know not the contents, but as I guess, we have a telestic, of ENTER for enter. So what we do have here is possibly something alluding to, I know not the contents. And because we missed something out up the top, I know not the contents. So the page all does come together, but I would just like to put it out there that we have this VV construction again. It's drawing us to this VV, the two letters coming together, possibly being male, possibly being female, coming together, and it's giving us this word hog, and it's telling us that we don't know what the contents of that tomb is, but ENTER, we can enter this tomb, and this is what is going to allow us to then talk, how do we enter this tomb? How do we enter this 7-sided tomb? Again, if you feel you can help out, if you find this stuff interesting, perhaps you feel I've took a little bit too far, perhaps you feel like maybe I've went off on a tangent somewhere, or you would just like to try this stuff yourself, please come along. We've got a little Discord, and we're really just trying to get more interpretation to help. Let me see, how do we put it? It's pretty obvious to me that this stuff was put together by more than one person. It was probably some type of group effort, and I mean that in a way where, like the story here, As You Like It, or some of the other stories like The Tempest, perhaps had been worked on by numerous authors over a long period of time, and the input to allow coding, to allow steganography, to allow it to fit to the story, to allow it to go all the way to the printers. I mean, there must have been a lot of people involved, and just like a lot of people put it together, I feel a group of people should help extract it. Because sometimes when you've got so much in your mind or so much in your memory from various pages, it's easy to get a little bit sidetracked. But what keeps me online is alignments and verifications that these alignments are falling into this template of the 7-sided tomb. So spare your time, come along, drop a message, and hopefully we can figure this out. Thanks for watching.